What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 157. And today we are going to break down the quarterfinals because the playoffs have begun. With me this week from Denver, Colorado, the man who handles the research. His name is Jason Ashby. Jason, how you feeling this week, my friend?
Fantastic. Dude, our Mets are rolling. 2 games up in the wild card. I'm excited. And I got to watch two really exciting matchups here in the quarterfinals of the Bigs. So it's good, man. I'm excited to be here, happy to do the research, and ready to break this shit down.
Let's get this party started. But before we do so, it's time to bring him back. It's the first time he's back since you guys heard that epic rant that he went on during week 20 or so. He is back from right down that hallway. He is the commissioner and a three-time Bigs champion here. It's Ben Nisman. Benny, how you feeling tonight, my friend?
Feeling good, Joe. Definitely want to address that rant because turns out after looking at it, there were some volume issues, some audio issues, and after reevaluating things, it turns out that that was actually my fault. That was actually me, the reason that that was happening. So just like when you asked me 4 for 20 and I needed to put that equation to bed and I couldn't do it, I got to be better. Just same thing here. I just got to step it up. But no, seriously, obviously, I was going to be here for week 23. And for the 20th year of the Bigs, I was obviously never, there was no chance I wasn't going to be present for this. So, Jason, thanks for doing the research. Thanks for being happy to do the research. I'm obviously proud commissioner and looking forward to breaking down the playoffs. So, Joe, please start us off, my man.
Let's get going, boys. Benji, let's give you the opportunity first to put your team to bed and put your season in perspective for all of us. How are you feeling here after your couple of weeks off from the show, your week off from fantasy baseball because you had the bye in the consolation bracket? How are you feeling right now? And talk to us about your season, my friend.
Well, Joe, everything takes a little bit time to put it into perspective, but annoyed, of course, frustrated, disappointed. I appreciate so much that there were texts from other guys trying to lift me up, saying, "Listen, you're still a good manager." A lot of this is obviously just because I was a victim of circumstance a lot of the time. And I have to take some solace on the fact that it was an over 500 season. So if that's something that we could add to the record book, um, it's something that I think should be acknowledged when we talk about things on this show and just saying, listen, the guy wasn't that great, but he seemed to be good enough that he had a good enough first half and he had a 500 season that should be acknowledged. So that was one thing I was hoping that maybe we could include maybe later. But um, I think that when I see who's in the semifinals now, Joe, it's nice to see that it's the top four teams. And we'll talk about Jay's season in a little bit, his playoff matchup, of course, but he had a little stretch where he was pretty darn cold and he was winning for 8 weeks. I would say amongst the final four pieces, he was the one that had the coldest stretch out of the four of you. But skill wise, what they had to go through all year, these are the four best managers. So I'm grateful that when we talk about every season, we could say these are the guys that are professional. Out of the four are former champions. They're all multi-time champions. So I'm really happy to see it. And I don't know what would have happened if it was you versus me in the playoffs, Joe. I know that I would have been in Long Branch for that season, for that week, man. Like I wasn't gonna see you. And I didn't want to have to do that anyway. And it would have been a pretty competitive week. I mean, I batted 375 on Sunday with 9 runs, two doubles, a triple, two home runs, four RBIs, two walks, seven strikeouts. Again, a 412 on base percentage. Um, there was a day on Tuesday where I had 5 home runs. There was a day on Wednesday I had a few home runs. And I think you had an awesome week, and you never know what would have happened. But I think it would have been an extremely tense 7 days for me. And if I came out of the losing end of that, it would have been pretty brutal for me if it was a tight one. If I watched my team, Joe, for these last 7 days and saw like them just be terrible for 7 days, the first day was really awful. I think I had an 083 that Monday. But if I saw them just like tank it, I feel even better today because I'd be like, I had no chance against Joe anyway. But looking at it, it was like, this would have been a really tense, tough matchup. Maybe I didn't want to put myself through that. So things happen for a reason. And I think these are the right four teams to be finishing. I think that we will, at the end, 100% say this guy earned a championship with 10 ads this year. The first time ever. It's the 20th season. You got 3 out of 4 guys that have multi-year championships, and Joe, of course, with your 4. And then, of course, Josh, who's been in the playoffs now 3 out of 4 years, semifinals 2 years in a row. Like this is perfect. I think this is the way it should be.
It's been an amazing 20th season in the bigs, and we are happy to be bringing you guys the commencement of this season and the crowning of the 2024 champion. Let's dive right into this first matchup here. We're going to talk about my matchup with Henry Collins this week. It turns out to be a 13-7 finish in my favor, and for the 8th straight season, I'm going to the semis yet again. Benji.
I don't know what to I don't know what to say, man. It's an incredible run. It's one that might never happen again. And it's still going. Like, who's to say that you can't keep that going? So, um, a lot of credit to you, man. It's one thing to have to go through the 22 weeks and grind it out and be not the 5th or 6th seed and squeak it out. You did it this time in, you know, legitimately, like, obviously every one of them is legitimate, but it was like no question about it. You were well deserved to be 11 year in a row in the playoffs and then have to play someone, in my opinion, that didn't necessarily feel like he had a shot against you going into day one. And we'll get into that more. But in general, I think that you really, really earned this one 8 years in a row. And the crazy thing is that 2016 matchup against Uncle Barry, you were pretty darn close in that one. And then you were in the semifinals in 15 and 14. It's just that little one in between. And then, so it should be known, yes, 8 straight, but how about 10 out of 11? So, really, really a lot of credit to you, Joe. Great job and well deserved. So we'll get into it now because it felt like for me this was a mismatch, and there were a lot of reasons why.
Yeah. It was 12-8 coming into Sunday. It goes out 13-6. Henry flips the wins, but I flipped batting average and whip, and I move on to the semifinals. It's a happy day for me. Close categories this week. I win by a walk by a batter, 8 ticks on the on base percentage, 2 saves, 2 home runs by a pitcher, 6 ticks on the whip, and 3 relief appearances. Henry wins by 2 doubles, a win and a loss, and we tied in triples with none because I don't win triples. I don't even get them ever. Except for today on my bench. On my bench this week, Benjamin, I go 7 for 35.
200.
Yay! Benji's back. We're so happy.
Thanks for giving me an easy one to start off. It's just circumstantial that we decided to pick your matchup first.
Yeah. 4 runs, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, and an error. None of it plays. For my moves this week, I started off dropping Taylor Rogers and Eric Miller as they didn't have a game that day. For Big Christmas, John Kenzie Noel over 3 with an RBI, 2 walks, and a strikeout. David Fry 1 for 4 with a solo homer and a strikeout, and CNL Perez an inning and a third, a strikeout, a 675 and an 075. Dropped Ryan Yarborough, dropped Big Christmas, CNL Perez, and Joey Wentz For Fernando Cruz, an inning and 2/3, 4 strikeouts in a relief appearance, and Joe Mantiply. Dropped Joe Mantiply the next day. It's not a waste. I just really wanted him for that day, and well, screw it. Moved on to the next guy. Yeah. Dropped Fernando Cruz and Joe Mantiply. Picked up Jacob Barnes, who never got into the game either. Dropped David Fry for Drew Rasmussen and Carlos Hernandez, an inning in the third, a walk, a strikeout, and a relief appearance. Rasmussen, not a waste. This one, I was going to only play Garrett Cole, and then he exploded in my hand like a hand grenade that I never thought I would have. And by the time I realized it, Rasmussen had already started, so drop him off the team. Verlander goes in and has a decent start to save my ass that day. And then finally on Sunday, I dropped Carlos Hernandez, Jacob Barnes, and Drew Rasmussen for Jose Alvarado, who was terrible, and Cade Povich. 5 innings, a loss, 2 walks, a home run, 8 strikeouts, a 360, and an 080 in Detroit. The loss is disappointing. That's really the disappointing part.
Yeah.
My MVP this week is Bryce Harper, 364 with a 440, 4 runs, 4 doubles, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is Heliot Ramos. He's off the team now. An 083 with a 154, a run, a steal, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. The Cy Young, I love the fact that Framber Valdez has really paid off so well this year. 6 1/3, a walk, 6 strikeouts, a 142, and an 095. And the Cy Young, yeah, it's Garrett Cole. He was really bad for me. 4 1/3, a loss, 3 walks, one of them intentional to Rafi Devers, 2 strikeouts, a 1454, and a 185. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
For Henry on his bench, Benjamin, he goes 5 for 19.
Oh, kidding me? That's irritating. For 20, so 263.
You nailed it, man.
Oh my!
You nailed it. Benji's back.
Takes a few weeks off, and all of a sudden he's a mathematician.
Exactly.
Right, sure.
He so 5 for 19 is a 263 with 1 run, a homer, an RBI, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. The 2 walks obviously play. And a clean relief appearance and save from Tyson Miller. Neither of them would have mattered by themselves, but just an interesting thing to have there.
Yeah.
One important one to address is on Wednesday, the Pirates were playing a pretty early game. It's something that was before 1 p.m. And I noticed that Trulio was starting at the 9 spot. And Ezekiel Duran had like a later game. So I'm thinking, the play that should happen is get Trulio in there because you don't know if Duran's going to start that day. So, alas, if that move gets played, average looks a little bit different, I think, guys. Maybe on base percentage as well. We'd have to do the math out. It's important. I mean, that's a biggie if that's the difference. But that's still only 2 stats. The thing is that Henry was never going to beat Joe in relief appearances. The walks by 1, he didn't have a walk on the bench at any point.
He had 2, actually.
All right, so let's say that gets flipped. And then also the play with Trulio gets flipped. That turns just about enough. No, that still doesn't even turn enough. If that's 3. All of a sudden, Henry's closers lost their jobs. And it was going to be pretty tough to beat Joe in saves as well. So you see the relief appearance. I knew going into this week, Joe had those 2 stats. So for me, Henry needed to be damn near perfect in order to beat Joe. He needed, as you can see, he needed more than 3 flips here in order to beat him. I mean, this was one that I think that when you look at those little things on the bench, okay, walks on the bench, it's tough. It's tough to get it in there, but I do think the Trulio thing, he gets that in on Wednesday. Maybe it changes things in a different direction. You don't know for sure, but that was one that I thought was big. And it's like, you know what? It's playoff time. Like, that's one that I think he had to get in there. Of all the things and all the decisions made all season, that was a biggie. When you're in the playoffs, it's Wednesday, it's early, but like that thing's got to be on your mind so much. You got to know what every guy's team is playing that day. That one was a huge miss for me.
Yeah, Jared Chiariello, a 2 for 3 with a run, a homer, and an RBI that day. Ezekiel Duran, 0 for 4. It's a rough non-play of the early game. It's a shame because that
Right.
that could flip batting average. It could flip. It could
Absolutely,
certainly at least get
right, because you're
on
not
base percentage close.
100%, because that's the guy that you're benching. You're not going to bench Jimenez that day. You're not going to bench Bobby Witt that day. You're not going to bench anybody else. Like that's the guy he's filling.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that. It changes things in a big, completely different direction. Maybe he plays different guys down the stretch. You don't know, but that's one at that moment on Wednesday, it could have put him in a better direction because his batting average on base that day obviously would have been much, much better and just in general. So yeah. But yeah, that was just one that we talked about when we talked about on the bench.
For his moves this week, he used 9 of them. He dropped Lars Nootbaar, Santiago Espinal, and Nathan Lucas. For Ezekiel Duran, 0 for 4, and Aaron Savale, 5 1/3, a win, a homer, a walk, 2 strikeouts, a 3.38, and an 0.75 in San Francisco. He dropped Savale for Jack Kohanowitz, 5 2/3, a loss, a bomb, a walk, 3 strikeouts, a 6.35, and a 1.41 in Minnesota. And dropped Landon Knack for Luke Raley, 1 for 3 with a run, 2 RBIs, and a walk. Fuck that guy. Dropped Jose Quijada for Jacob Junis, 5 innings, a homer, 3 strikeouts, a 180, and an 0.60 in St. Louis. Dropped Jack Kohanowitz for Brian King, who never pitched. More on that guy in a little bit. Dropped Hunter Strickland for Brian Rocchio Pinocchio, 0 for 1 with 2 walks and a strikeout, and more on that guy in a minute as well. He dropped Jacob Junis for Colby Allard, 3 innings, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 9, and a 2.67 against our Mets. And he dropped Colby Allard for Landon Raup, 5 innings, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, nothing earned, in an 0.80 against San Diego. As for Brian King, Henry did in fact text me that this guy is never going to come into a game, apparently. And Brian Rocchio had a triple, and then it got taken away. It became a double. Double with an extra base for an error. So that triple never happened.
But I remember you were even texting about how, about that triple and there's a triple. And then the next morning, there was not the triple.
There was not the triple anymore. It's a shame. His MVP this week is Jurickson Profar, 333 with a 455 on base, 4 runs, 2 doubles, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter goes to Jesus Sanchez, 105 average with a 190 on base, 2 runs, a double, a steal, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. The Cy Young goes to Zach Gallen, 10 innings, a win, a bomb, 4 walks, 14 big strikeouts, a 270 and a 120. And the Cy Young goes to Camilo Doval, one of the big trade pieces that he sent Pete Alonso and Justin Verlander away for. 3 innings, 2 losses, a walk, 4 strikeouts, a 9, and a 167 over 3 relief appearances. Jason, you did the research on this one, man. I saw it go. I saw it was pretty one-sided for most of the week. It did get close there toward the end. What else did you see there?
Yeah. It got close, and obviously there were a bunch of close categories. I think you won. I think it was like 6 or 7 close categories that you took. So it looks close in the box score, but I think Ben's right. This was it would have been obviously a very big upset if Henry found a way to take you down. This was you at your best. This was what you do. And this is why you're in the semifinals for the 8th straight year.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Benji, Henry Collins has made the playoffs in his first 2 seasons in the bigs. And yeah, that's probably happened before. We'd have to go back and look. But realistically, this is the hardest time in the history of this league to make the playoffs. And he's done it in his first 2 seasons.
100%.
Just speak to how proud you are of this guy and put a bow on his season for us.
Well, I think you said it all, man. You don't just fall into the playoffs 2 years in a row by accident. I think there really is something to be said there. And when he faced against me last year in the first round, we had a nice phone conversation that for both of us, it felt like house money. For him, for sure, since his first year and he makes it in, like no matter what. So for him to do it a second year in a row, guys, I didn't think he even knew what just happened. Like the fact that he was here again is just like, what, you know? So I think mentally he was already kind of out of it because he didn't even think that he necessarily should have been here. And I think it was amazing that he decided to change his team name to something to, in a way, honor Bobby and I. At two occasions, he changed his team name, and a lot of the guys in the league wouldn't understand the reference. But that was just him trying to say, guys, like, I'm here with you guys as well, and I appreciate it a lot. It meant a lot. It was meant to be a tribute. He was even concerned that is it too soon? Would they not get it? Like no way. I thought that was an amazing thought. So a lot of credit to a guy that is so damn classy, and I'm so proud that I reached out to him a couple of years ago and said, listen, this is something that I think has your name on it, that I think you would enjoy. That'd be a nice hobby. It's easy, it's on your phone. And he jumped on it, and look what he's done. You know, and does he have a lot to learn? I think it shows that through this matchup that there's still a good amount to learn. But hey, he made trades this season, and a lot of them kind of blew up in his face. I mean, Jason Dominguez didn't get used until this playoff matchup, but it worked out. He filled the pieces somewhere else. I had Kershaw, from him, and he gets Luis Heel to replace that possibility of that starting pitcher. That guy kind of hits the skids when he gets them. He figures out another way to get somebody else to get him those innings. Um, I really think he found a way that, in spite of some of the decisions that he made here in the playoffs, he had an incredible season. And I looked at my season and I was thinking about how, I was so like I was annoyed when, the last time I was on the show, but I was infuriated the week after with the stat correction when I went to sleep thinking that I beat Jay 11-9, and I woke up to see that I had lost 10-9. And at that point, it's like, okay, but little did I know that then I couldn't even beat Mike Sherman. That ended up being a tie. Costas kicked the crap out of me. He had his best batting average and on base percentage of his whole season against me. That the match against Bobby was only like it was very tight. I won 11-9. A lot needed to happen in order for me to catch up to Henry. So it makes me feel better that this guy deserved to be the sixth seed. His team was better for 22 weeks, and he earned it, and he should be proud. And I'm very grateful to have him in this league, and so should everybody else, because it's good to have a guy that you're concerned about when you're playing against him, because you know that nowadays he's got experience and he's got some accolades too. Two playoffs, 2 years in a row, ever being in here. Yes, it has been done, Joe, but only by one guy. And I feel like Henry is actually a lot more skilled than that guy and is going to bring a lot more to the league. And he still has a lot more memories to come. And he should have some more confidence now, because you don't do it by accident. With 10 ads this year, it was tougher on a lot of guys, including myself. So he's an incredible manager, and yes, he does have a lot to learn, but I think we all still learn every single time, and we are always second guessing ourselves. Like I, to this day, think about every single decision that I made for the last 6, 7 years. And then even ones like, by the way, 2013, I missed the playoffs by one stat. So I think about those decisions as well. 2 years, there's very few memories there. I can't wait to have this guy for a decade more.
No doubt. No doubt. His star is on the rise. He has himself pegged as a future Bigs champion. He's just got to get over the hump and learn how to win in the playoffs when it matters the absolute most. Henry, we thank you so much for this season. Let's move on to the other matchup. And Jason, last week we talked about these two guys going to a 10-10 tie and said this is going to be fun when they face off against each other. Well, we get the rematch here this week, and it is 12-6 in favor of Jay Ferraro. What a difference a week makes.
Yeah, but this also though was back and forth. Like it ended up being 12-6, but it was all over the place all week long. There was some big blowouts, and then it got close, and then Cody took the lead for a little bit, and then Jay walked away with a double up. But it was all over the place.
Yeah, going into Sunday, it was 11-9 in favor of Jay Ferraro. It comes out 12-6. Looks like he had an epic Sunday, tying runs, home runs by a hitter, and flipping relief appearances. So Jay Ferraro returns to the semifinals. How many years, Benji, after he was last there?
Well, he was there in 2021, and he takes 2 years off, and he gets in again. Unbelievable. We're going to talk a lot about how Jay Ferraro got here and where he is now, and Cody as well. But yeah, incredible how this guy could take 2 years off. Uh, by the way, it was from 2017 to 2021. Okay, when he finally came back. So he had taken a good amount of time off until he came back in 2021 and got in the playoffs. 2 years off, back in again in 2024. I mean, his ratio of getting in the playoffs in this league is incredible. But how about this, guys? The first time in 16 years that Jay Ferraro is in the semifinal. I mean, look, in 2008, in 2007, he runs the table. In 2009, he gets in, but he loses in the first round. And then here in 2021, we know he faced you and he lost in the first round. So here he is, incredible that he broke through. You wondered if, like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen the first year because we're 16 guys, anything can happen. He gets in, he's playing a tough manager, and he gets through. It's apropos that he's one of the final four here.
No doubt. No doubt. Close categories this week for Jay. He wins by 3 doubles, 3 walks, a loss, a save, and a relief appearance. For Cody, he wins by a triple and 2 wins, and they tied in runs, home runs by a batter, and home runs by a pitcher. For Jay on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 6 for 24.
Wow. Oh man, I should get this. It's 250.
It is
Yeah.
250. Okay. I was starting to get a little worried here.
Yeah. I was like messing with myself, and then I was trying to simplify, and I was like, wait, I don't even have to do this. Okay.
So 250 with 2 runs that would have won the category, 2 doubles, a triple that would have tied the category, a home run that would have won the category, 2 RBIs and 3 strikeouts. But at the end of the day, he doubled up Cody in the stats, so none of that really matters. For his moves, he did in fact use all 10. He drops Rhett Lauder for Edward Cabrera, 6 innings, a loss, a walk, 9 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 0-33 at Washington, and deserved better.
Yeah, you go up an earned run, he gets a loss. Like that sucks.
Yeah, that really does suck. He dropped Ben Joyce, rest in peace. Is that an elbow thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you throw 105 miles an hour, your elbow's gonna fall off.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that elbow to blow apart so that we can get him back after the Tommy John, and then he can
Exactly.
throw like
Yeah.
98. Yeah, like a normal person. Anyway, he dropped Ben Joyce for Ty France, 1 for 4 with an RBI. He dropped Lou Bob for Jeremiah Estrada, an inning, a walk, a strikeout, and a relief appearance. He dropped Geraldo Perdomo for Ian Hamilton, who was good in his relief appearance. Dennis Santana for Parker Meadows, 1 for 4. And dropped Edwin Uceta for JP Sears, who was benched and had a bad start, so it was a good bench. He dropped John McMillan for Trent Thornton, a clean relief appearance. Dropped Ty France for Mackenzie Gore, who was benched for a great start. Colin Snyder gets dropped for Nick Martinez, who was benched and had a great start. And he dropped Edward Cabrera for Rhett Lauder and benched him for a bad start. Good job, Jay. Way to bench all those guys. His MVP this week is once again Victor Robles. What?
Dude,
Dude, 545 with a 630 on base percentage. 4 runs, 3 doubles, is that an RBI, 6 stolen bases, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Yeah, he did it to him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question, man. I mean, he needed all four of those runs to tie the category. He needed the three doubles to win the category. I think this is incredible that he made this pick. A very savvy move by Jay to just feel out this guy and say he's going to get hot this week.
Yeah.
And he's added and dropped him like several times, and nobody else has even owned him in the bigs this year, and except for Jay, and he's just reaped the benefits of this guy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, and the guy is hitting at the top of the Seattle lineup, so you gotta believe that he was playing off of Julio Rodriguez here for some of those runs scored. Some of those stolen bases were probably during a Julio at bat, so playing it off of Cody's player is
Yeah,
pretty nice.
yeah.
The least valuable hitter this week is really not anybody when you hit 306 with a 381 on base percentage. So it's hard to find somebody. We're giving it to Parker Meadows, I guess. 143 with a 250 and a walk.
Like he was a midweek pickup, so you didn't even have him the whole week. And yeah,
Ty France was also bad, but he was also again a start of the week pickup and dropped after 3 days.
yeah. So it was just a really incredible offensive week for Jay.
Yeah. The Cy Young this week is going to be Paul Skeens, 6 innings, a win, a walk, 9 strikeouts, a 150, and a 117. Jason, I'll ask you because I know the answer from Ben. Paul Skeens or Sonny Gray next year?
I've Skeens all day. I've
Okay.
never really been much of a believer in Sonny Gray anyway. So give me Skeens.
Get a better one for you. Paul
Okay.
Skeens or Pablo Lopez?
That's a better one. I probably go Pablo Lopez just for the I know what I'm getting with him. Probably better team maybe. And yeah, Skeens what Skeens is doing is incredible, but it's a 3-month, kind of flash for now. Pablo's been around for a while. I'll take Pablo.
Ben, I assume you're going to lean Pablo Lopez very heavily there as well.
Great question, man. I don't know if I know the answer. Maybe because of what Jason said, that you know that he's going to be there versus we've only seen a half a season out of Skeens. If there's no inning restriction on Skeens, and I know that to be factual, not that they say that they're not going to have, and then they do it, that could happen. But if I knew in my head there's no restrictions on Skeens and that it was factually going to happen, I would take Skeens.
Okay. The Cy Yuck this week, unfortunately, is Ranger Suarez, who has helped carry Jay this far in the season. 5 1/3, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 6.75 and a 263 whip. He threw to a 2.90 ERA this week, so it's again a little difficult to find.
I mean,
Anybody
290
pitch
is kind
that
of
for
bad
you.
for Jay when he throws to a sub-1 every week. So
It's been
No
ridiculous.
doubt. That's a good point, man. Like he is one of the best guys when it comes to ERA with, especially against opponents, but he's the best in our league. A 3.26 ERA. Your second, Joe, was a 3.62. Yeah, obviously. Like, and by the way, that's whip in our league as well at a 113, just in front of Josh Haber at a 114. So yeah, Jay, you're right. I mean, you nailed it, Jason, because it just seems like as far as pitching goes, Jay has mastered it this year. He's found a way to just, even when he doesn't like have a great ERA necessarily or have a great one, like he manages to do better against that opponent with what he has to do. And he avoids the losing, and here he's tying in home runs given up. And it's amazing the way that Cody actually played back and was able to win with. So back and forth matchup. And yeah, Jay, with what he's doing pitching wise, finding magic from this offense when he was shedding the entire team most of the year. Incredible. Incredible.
And one other thing I'll mention about Jay's pitching is that there's really no like ace of this team, right? I mean, Imanaga and Skeens, but they're both rookies. You don't know what you're gonna get with these guys.
Suarez.
Suarez, he was kind of a question mark ish. Like there's no Logan Gilbert. There's no like true ace on this staff that you can say,
Sure.
Aaron Nola, you know what you're gonna get with him. Like there was a lot of question marks. Even Justin Steele, was, kind of I don't know what I'm gonna get with this guy. And he turned it into,
Yeah,
like I said, to
I
magic.
think I think to more of your point though, there just aren't a whole lot of aces out there.
True.
They're number one pitchers, but there are very few Garrett Coles, and like I'd still like he's having a tougher year for him. But you know, like you said about Sonny Gray, Sonny Gray has had two nice years in a row, but still you're not really like sure you believe in him as an ace, right? So
Yeah.
it's like a lot of it's just it's hard to actually for us to accept, a guy unless he's been legitimate for such a long period of time. I don't even necessarily consider Aaron Nola to be in there because I've seen some bad years. In fact, I feel like Zach Wheeler has been more consistently
He
better
has been.
for
You're right.
that period of time. But yeah, there's just very few aces out there. But Jay's got a lot of number twos and arguably number ones. And I think Skeens would be considered one of those guys that's an ace, just because it's like over this period of time. The same way Spencer Strider. I mean, Spencer Strider didn't pitch for that long of a period of time, but we'd say that guy's an ace, right? But
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah.
a very small sample size, like you're saying, to your credit. So yeah, he's found a way to get the best of these specific guys in rotations that okay, they're going to succeed there. So it's really worked out for him, and yeah, I did not expect for him to have the best ERA and best WHIP going into this season. I thought he was going to be more savvy on the offensive side, but I mean, it's really amazing.
Yeah, it really has been. He's pitched his absolute ass off, and that's what's gotten him here.
Mm-hmm.
For Cody on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 8 for 26.
Oh man, that was close, huh? 8 for 26, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Three, three, 312.
308. The man went 3 for 4 with a screamer that got grabbed at the line. Five
Well done.
runs. Five runs would have won the category for him. 3 doubles that would have tied the category. 2 homers that would have won the category. 8 RBIs and 8 strikeouts. Plus, there's a relief appearance from
Chris Martin
on September the 11th.
Yeah, on Wednesday.
That would have tied that category.
Yeah. And I think that I think that was just a circumstance of having one too many pitchers and not knowing
Which one was going to come in?
which one to throw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to come in that day?
100%. But look, you're saying runs that were tied, he'd break that to 7. He'd have to. How many do you have as far as doubles? Did you say 3 or 4?
5. 5 on the
5.
bench. 5 runs
5
on the
doubles
bench.
okay, so he needs 4 out of 5 of those to flip that. Whip was, he got that one. ERA he never would have touched. A home run given up. Guys, a lot needed to happen in order for him to turn this. So,
Oh, yeah.
he shouldn't hang his hat on this loss. We'll get into it more. I'm just saying that when I look at it, it seemed like the better manager had him in check most of the week, even though it did go back and forth.
Cody did, in fact, use all 10 ads this week. We'll start with dropping Caleb Ort for Kevin Kelly, the worst AEW announcer, 2/3 of an inning in a relief appearance. He dropped Patrick Corbin for Johnny DeLuca, 1 for 4 with a strikeout. Dropped DeLuca for Tyler Fitzgerald, 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Dropped Sean Jelly, Byron Buxton, and Jake Cousins for Johnny DeLuca, 1 for 4 with an RBI and a strikeout, and Andrew Chafin, who was bad in his relief appearance. He dropped Andrew Chafin for Dennis Santana, clean relief appearance. Dropped Johnny DeLuca for Brady Basso. What team, Benjamin?
Seattle Mariners.
Oakland
Close.
Athletics. So you got the right division.
It's kind of close.
5 1/3, a win, a walk, 2 strikeouts, nothing earned, a 1-1-3 at the Chicago White Sox, who are basically fielding a Double-A team these days. Tyler Fitzgerald gets dropped for Patrick Corbin. 6 innings, a win, a walk, 6 strikeouts, a 150 to 067 versus Miami, who's also fielding a Double-A team.
They might be AAA.
They might be. They
Yeah.
might be. They just beat up on the Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. Brady Basso gets dropped for Mitch Keller. 6 innings, a loss, a homer, a walk, 6 strikeouts, a 450 and 083 against Kansas City. And Bailey Ober gets dropped for DL Hall. 3 innings, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 15 ERA, and a 267 in Arizona. There's the difference in your ERA. That's 40 ticks roughly that he would have 50 ticks he would have needed to get in order to get to the ERA. And I don't know, a 15 ERA, 5 earned over 3 doesn't sound like a good ratio there.
Yeah, and I had DL Hall a little bit towards the end of the season because he came back up when rosters expanded, and he was going to be kind of just like this long guy, maybe even get some save opportunities, late in the game, and all of a sudden he gets thrown back into a starter for this last game for Cody, and it was not pretty.
No, and I'm really concerned that Milwaukee got bit on that deal because they got Joey Ortiz and this kid for Corbin Burns.
They got burned.
The MVP this week for Cody is Corbin Carroll, 316 with a 409, 5 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, a stolen base, or an RBI, 2 stolen bases, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. With a shout out to Gunnar Henderson, who also filled up the stat line fairly nicely, just not as high as Corbin Carroll. The least valuable hitter this week is Matt Wallner, 100 with a 250 on base, a run, a homer, an RBI, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts.
So I give the shout out to Julio too, because a lot of these bench stats that he had, I don't know why, but he had trouble figuring out whether to start Wallner or Julio. There were some days where he started Wallner and Wallner shit the bed, and Julio goes off on the bench, and then some days vice versa. And I don't know. I feel like I know Julio has not been great, but I think if you're going to trade for that guy to be a centerpiece of your team, you kind of just leave him there in center field and don't touch him.
I kind of tend to agree that if you give up, what he did to go get Julio, yeah, you play that guy every day because this is a league-changing trade, and you're going to want to plant your flag as the guy who went and got Julio and went and won a championship, not the guy who benched him.
Well, look, firstly, there's a lot of things to unpack with what you guys are talking about. A lot. We talk about the flip-flopping through a week. Joe, both of us can speak to that and what has happened to us in the playoffs going through that. So we don't know, and obviously, Jason, you had him last year. It's a different story. None of us felt the frustrations of owning Julio Rodriguez this year. Cody did, and Costas did, and that's it. And I'm sure there were plenty of days where Cody played Julio, and he was extremely frustrated with his play. So it's tough. It's tough when you just want to play by the numbers, but I don't know, man. It's tough. You look at Julio's week, 176 and a 250. Yeah, he gets the bomb for him. Yeah, he gets the 2 runs. Those 2 runs were necessary in order for him to tie that category. But it's unfortunate because, and obviously we'll delve into it more, but Cody put what people were thinking was a super team, and he put it together, but there were flaws to it, and there were outs in that offense. And at a certain point, it does become a mental game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
and you're not sure which guy you're going to play. And if you play it exactly right, it could work, you know? Dude, Joe, I'm playing you in the semifinals in 2021. How many times have I needed to jump on the back of Carlos Santana? On a particular Wednesday, he was so terrible, and I sat him, and I picked up G-Man Choi, who had 3 walks. And that was it. And then I went back to Santana for the rest of the way. But for a moment, I made that move and it was right. But I could point to different decisions that I've made and they were incorrect. And I was overthinking it. You know, either way, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. He had a bench. He was playing with the bench, and it might have burned him a little bit. But again, a lot needed to switch in order for him to
Oh
even
yeah.
win it. He
Yeah.
needed a tie. Look, he didn't need a tie. He knew that going into this matchup, and we talked about it. He wanted Jay Moore. He preferred that matchup over having to face Joe if he potentially fell into the sixth. He wanted five because he had the tiebreaker. But I mean, he still needed a lot to happen in order for this to work out. So I give him a lot of credit for getting even this close because he put a team together that could get one of the 6 spots. That's amazing in and of itself.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, listen, he ran into an absolute buzzsaw this week. A 2.90 ERA, 25 relief appearances, 306 batting average,
Yeah,
381 on base percentage, 14 stolen bases. Get out of here, Jay
yeah,
Ferraro.
right.
Get out of here with
27
that.
runs. Like he dared him to tie 27 runs, and he
Mhm.
did that at least. So all those stolen bases, you have 14 stolen bases. It's nice to see 27 there. That means a lot of those guys stealing bases ended up touching home. So yeah, it was going to be tough to for any dude. Jay beats you this week, Joe. I thought it was like going to be tough for a lot of teams to beat you this week
Mhm.
across the board. This was one of the teams that would have beat you this week.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. He tore the cover off the ball and pitched incredibly well. Back to Cody's key
Cy
players
Young, yeah.
going to Cy Young. It's Patrick Corbin. We talked about him just a minute ago. 6 innings, a win, 6 strikeouts, a 150 and an 067. The Cy Young, the aforementioned Aaron Nola, 4 1/3, a loss, 2 bombs, 2 walks, a 1246 and a 185. With a shout out to DL Hall at his terrible 3 inning start.
Yeah, but the Nola start was against the Mets, so he gets brownie points for that.
Of course he does. Yeah, he does. That's a great start. Benjamin, this rookie came in and took this league by storm this season, getting a playoff spot, locking down one of the 6. Thank you, Cody. Thank you for coming in here and making this an incredibly fun season and crashing the postseason party. Benji, put a bow on his season for us.
Oh man, I wish I could say he was number one, but he was at least number two in batting average this year, a 262 average all season, just to Adam Lowenstein, who had a 273. And second in on base percentage as well. He had a 337 to Adam Lowenstein's 346. By the way, Adam Lowenstein rejoined this league last year after only being in 2005. Just, I know we're not talking about him, but I just wanted to throw that in there. But what else do you have to say about Cody Pyatt? I mean, the guy comes in for the first year and just it's amazing what these new managers are doing. Adam, Henry, Cody now. You get Jay Ferraro coming back. And here I am, man, thinking, I bring back Jimmy, Jay, and now I bring in Cody for the first time. 2 out of 3 of those guys got in the playoffs, and I'm 7th. But Mike Haber was so amazing to text me and remind me that look, you could put a league together where guys don't really check and they're not going to really work hard. The integrity of the league is important. It's important that every single guy that's going to come in here is going to work hard and do a job and contend in some way or another. Um, this guy did just that, and I'm so grateful that he worked as hard and that he cared about it as much as he did. Jason, you were the find on that, and you get a lot of tip of the cap as well because you trusted that this was somebody that we could believe in, that we knew could be part of this community and have a great time with us. There was an amount like there were trades, there was some drama there, but everything he did was so legit and pure. And I thought that out of anyone that was going into this thing, this guy had probably the least amount of chance to actually get to the top six, he embarrasses me by even thinking that because said I'm not going to be a pushover. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to work hard. And there was like a skid towards the end of the season, and all of a sudden he found a way to just break through. He used the shtick with Aaron Boone, like it's right in front of us from 2022, and he did what he had to do to get in here. He was better than most of us this year, and that's something that again, I didn't really expect. I don't think a lot of people did expect. Um, through the ending of the season, just from week 14 on, he loses 13-7, he loses 12-9, he loses 13-5, then he wins 11-9, then he loses 12-9, he wins 14-6, then he ties 10-10, he loses 10-9, he ties 10-10. It was a real tough stretch towards the end. And he found a way to just figure out a way to get enough stats and pull through here. A lot of credit. He learned a lot. Um, he um, he only loses by one relief appearance from to Jay Ferraro with a good amount, 24, which tells me like through the weeks he was learning a lot about playing the bullpen. And maybe next year he goes after some closers because that was one I think that maybe if you're competing in that stat, at least you have a chance, right, in the playoffs. So it didn't really matter because the guy was losing relief appearances and he was losing saves a decent amount, but still managing a way to get enough stats offensively to put him in here. Amazing team, amazing the way he put it together with honestly trades a good amount of it. And he was letting go of things that he took a risk on, like losing, like getting Ellie Dela Cruz and then losing him. Like I don't know. Once a lot of guys like obtain that guy, they don't necessarily want to let go of him. He saw the flaws in him. He might strike out too much. He might have too many errors. Let me get a guy, Jordan Alvarez, who you're worried, oh, he might get injured. Pete Alonso, he didn't really have like the kind of year, but and he, you never know. That's a guy who maybe gets banged up because he's playing for a contract. He took a lot of risks, guys. He traded Luis Heel when he was absolutely on fire. He slam dunked a lot of these deals, and he deserved to be in here. And I think Jay was probably concerned about playing this guy because he had been so savvy. You don't know what you're getting from him. You don't, yeah, we haven't really seen him play that much. Jay's got a good idea of a lot of the teams and the way that they strategize. This is one you're not even sure, even though you played him the week before, because there could be a whole new game plan. So it was really just amazing to see this guy, not only throughout the season, but just in this first playoff against a guy that's very experienced. And I hope he's proud of what he's done. I hope he's really happy with the league and the format of the league, the style of the league, the group of us. I think we're a really awesome community. So I'm proud to have him a part of it.
He
I think
he did send a text that I'll read real quick. He said, "I really just wanted to tip my cap to Jay and say thank you for the invitation into the league. I had a blast and can't wait to go again next year." So, yeah, he's in, and I know, when he first, we first talking about the league and about, the stats and the ads and the, all the kind of different rules that we have in this league. He was like, "Whoa, this is legit. Like this is something serious." But he came in and just rolled with the punches, and I did not expect him to make the top six his first year, and he absolutely blew all of us away.
it takes a really special guy to come in with, only 10 ads and 42 innings that you have to hit every single week.
Yeah.
The bullpens, the way we play, the left center and right outfield positions, and only one utility. These things are a lot different than normal 5x5 fantasy baseball leagues
Well
that are
said.
played
Well
out
said,
there.
Joe.
So to have somebody come in and take all of that in stride and make the playoffs and make a really hard push here, it's to be commended. It's absolutely to be commended,
Yeah.
and it's a testament to how well this guy drafted, how
Right.
well this guy traded, how well this guy dealt with the waiver wire. It's a great season overall. So hats off to him. Hats off to
Right.
him.
Yeah, and just speaks more to, obviously Henry, who's made it now 2 years in a row, and he's only been in the league 2 years. Like all of a sudden, that's like three playoffs from these two guys. And obviously, it seems like there's going to be plenty more to come. They have nothing to hang their head on. Like this is amazing work out of these two guys.
Absolutely. Now that we have our final four set in place, Jason, your prediction of Josh Haver still stands as legitimate as he takes on me in the semifinals. Benji, we didn't get your prediction before the postseason started, so I'd like to get that now. Who are you rooting for? Let's not
Oof.
ask what you
Okay. What
think
my
is going to
prediction
happen.
is? Okay.
Who are
Is
you
that a different
rooting
question?
for here? Yes.
All right. In order, and I love the four of you guys. Like you know that, by the way. Um, and and by the way, we definitely need to address one more time one of these four guys because the fact that Jay did get through this matchup after the first time in 16 years, I just want to throw that back in there that this guy just did he did some work this season, and his skills are to me day to day. Maybe I can think of one other guy, Jimmy, but I basically think it's those two guys, Jimmy and Jay, day to day. To pick a guy to click, to pick a pitcher you think is going to get the good innings, I don't think there's anybody better. And I think Jay has done that 22 weeks, and then all of a sudden it all clicked in the same week to have the ERA that he did, to have the batting average and on base that he did. And I just wanted to speak on how brilliant he's been coming back and taking these years off because it isn't easy. And now he had to adjust from the fact that when he left in 2017. In 2016, by the way, 21 ads. Then by the time, 2017, 14 ads. Then by the time he comes back in 2021, 12 ads. He adjusts to that. Then he misses 2 years. He comes back, he adjusts to 10 ads. And he's had to go with the innings that we bumped from 27 to 34 to 37 to 42. He's made all these adjustments while missing time. So that really needs to be acknowledged how brilliant Jay has been with just adjusting to the game. Um, so now that I'm sorry, because we talked about Cody, but I just wanted to throw that in there for Jay. But to answer your question, on the four, I prefer in this order. Josh Haber's never won it. Jay Ferraro getting his third, then Mike Haber getting his third because Mike Haber would be a back-to-back. I'm obviously doing this on a personal level, and I think, Joe, I gotta say, you getting your fifth puts too much distance with all of us. That's the one I least prefer.
Fair enough. I'm gonna have to ruin your dreams and win a fifth championship. That's all that's gonna have to happen.
Yeah.
That's
The
motivation.
Consolation King crown is still live, Jason. You won this week over Costas in the consolation bracket. Congratulations, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was kind of a slam dunk, I guess, because he didn't reach the minimum. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we always say. The thing about the consolation bracket is you have to make the minimum still. So that's the important part of it all. Congratulations on that win. If you want his bench stats, Ben, I have it. It's 11 for 43.
Wow, it's almost 250, but it's a little better. So what? It's like, do I really have to do this? I don't know. 257.
256. He almost nailed it anyway. It was a good week for you, Jason. Though you said here Costas didn't make the minimum, so I'm not finishing his research. I don't blame you.
Yep, it was not worth it, but
Yeah.
it was fun anyway. I it's a consolation bracket.
Yeah.
It's pride, not prize.
Absolutely. That being said, pretty decent week from you. 252 with a 310, 9 homers, 27 RBIs, 24 runs scored. The offense came to play for you.
Yeah, I felt pretty good this week.
Yeah. As for the other matchup was Adam Lowenstein against Brian Lebo. This one was hotly contested, it looks like.
Yeah, it kind of was also like a little bit back and forth, but towards the end, I think Brian also kind of checked out a little bit.
Well, Brian pitched to a 173 ERA across 52 innings, so credit to him. Though it does look like toward the end of the week, he sort of threw his hands up and said, I'm done. I'm done
Yeah.
with this.
Yep, football.
Football is happening, and it doesn't help that the final day of a matchup like this is on a Sunday, and it happens to be the first Sunday of NFL football. So
Yeah.
we have the Habers moves from Sunday lined up, but we're not going to talk about those here this week because we're going to save those for when we talk about their matchups next week. We'll talk about how they set up and how things shook out. It's going to be a crazy week. Benji, what do you think's going to happen this week?
Well, I don't even know. I might have said this on the show, but I know I talked to you off air. I have my pick in who I think is going to beat who in the final, actually. Um, we know that Jay Ferraro has the tiebreaker. We know that Josh Haber has the tiebreaker. So I do have Joe moving on here. I got Mike Haber moving on, and then I have Joe going over Mike Haber. But that's the exact opposite of things that I want to happen. So we have to take that into consideration that I'm just assuming what I don't want to happen is what's going to happen. So that's no offense to Jay or Josh. It's just that's how my brain goes. But yeah, it's going to be exciting, and we got 8 championships between the semifinalists. We got a ton of playoff experience. We've got arguably the 4 most skilled guys in our league. So it's appropriate that these are the 4 teams. Again, we will say that this guy freaking earned it, and that guy is well deserved to be the 20th champion of the bigs. I'm proud to say.
Jason, thank you so much for being here with me, my friend. I appreciate all you do for us here.
Absolutely. It's I love doing every minute of it. And I do agree with Ben. I think looking at it like the top four, it makes sense who's in the top four.
Yes.
And where it goes from here, it's the bigs. Anything can happen out of these two matchups, and I'm looking forward to doing the research for it and seeing what happens and seeing who's going to join us in the constellation.
Benji, thank you for being here once again. We will have you back next week for the semis.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure and it's a privilege. And I was happy that we changed that one rule in where we're going to lock those teams that had the bye for 6 days and just let those 4 teams compete, because I think it was a little bit more of what you'd hope for and the most possible guys available to those 4 teams to prove who deserved to be in the last 4. And now here we are with just 4 left. It's really, really exciting. And I'm obviously a very proud commissioner. Joe, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Thanks for giving us the opportunity, Jason. Thanks as always for doing the research. I know you love it, but I'm glad that I could give us the platform to actually do something like that. So look, a lot also it's funny because when we talk about the rant and what the league means to me, it's important to let you guys know that when you're the guy that made the game, there's sometimes a little bit more pressure to be better at it. If you're not necessarily able to be good at something that you created, that someone's still better, there's a little bit more on you sometimes. So I just wanted everyone to keep that in perspective, because obviously there's no way that I was as annoyed as when I pulled that list. A lot of that was premeditated. I talked to Joe about it. It was going to be more for entertainment anyway, and it was probably the most coherent and articulate I've actually been all season. So I was happy that it happened. I was happy that it actually. By the way, Joe, your deadpan face listening to the whole thing sold it. I think more than anything, everyone that was really, really worried about me, I think you slam dunked that performance as well. we have a great time together. We have a good time on this show. We have a good time off the show, and I'm just really pleased. So I'm glad that I could create something that there's so much legitimacy in, that we take so seriously, that it means so much to have X amount of championships because I just decided to do this one day. It's not like it's not like something that Major League Baseball or like a legitimate organization put together. I just decided to do this, and it means so much to a bunch of people. So I'm happy that I was able to bring that to fruition for everyone.
Guys, this is going to conclude the quarterfinals. We have 2 more weeks of the 2024 season, and then the offseason begins. We have so much exciting stuff for the offseason. Jason is chomping at the bit already, ready to dive into the offseason, but we have just 2 weeks remaining. We thank you for being along on this incredible journey with us. Until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.